Welcome to Business Innovators Radio, featuring industry influencers and trendsetters sharing proven strategies to help you build a better life right now.
Hello and welcome to another special edition of Women's History Month, hashtag Choose to Challenge. And today we have Miss Barbara Beckley. Barbara, how's it going?
It's going good. Thank you for having me. This is an honor. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much for joining us. And to our listening audience, if this may be the first time you're joining in on this special, I am Luana Bradford, visionary and co-founder of Celebrate You, Women Embracing Wellness. And we are here to just get straight into the conversation about Women History Month. But before we do that, Barbara, tell us a little bit about you, what's going on in your world, what's happening with Queen Diamond, Barbara Beckley.
Well, you kind of started when you said the diamond, so thank you so much for that. So I'm the CEO and founder of the Diamond Factor LLC, which my mission is to help, especially women, to first find their PPD, I call it, their purpose, their passion, and their drive in life, so they can understand how special they are, who they are, how amazing they are, and what gifts they have. And then after they find all that out, then what I do is help promote them, give them exposure through TV live streams, one-on-one interviews, help them with their social media, making sure that they're shining in all those aspects in the world.
Thank you. That's beautiful. And when we're talking about women shining, that's one of the things we do with Women History Month. We want to reflect and celebrate all the great giants whose shoulders we're standing on. But also as women, every day we are part of living history. We are creating history in everything that we do. So I'd like you to talk a little bit about what does it mean when we're celebrating women's history? What does it mean when we're celebrating each other on a daily basis as women?
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that, Luana, because I think about that every time I wake up. And I say to myself, what can I do better today that, I maybe didn't do such yesterday or the following day when it comes to me being a woman? Because I know the fights and the struggles way back before I was even born. And I keep telling myself, I said, I have to give honor to that. I have to definitely give honor to that because they fought for us to get to a certain point now in life. Women back in the 1800s, 1900s. And then, I told myself, I said, let me do some more research because I have to be honest. Me and the history when I was growing up it was kind of, I was just trying to get my grades in all other areas. When it came to history, I was going through the history course just to make sure I got that A. But I really didn't do the A justice. So I told myself, I said, let me go back. Let me do some research, not just history of self, but history of women and how we created so much, we have done so much, we have fought so hard. So then when I wake up every day, I said, I have no excuse. There's no excuses at all, none whatsoever. So I always tell myself, Barbara, I don't care how tired I feel. I don't care what's going on. I be like, no, I need to get up because I want to give honor, especially to the women that fought for us to be here at this particular time.
I love that. So let's go right into this year, this theme. We were talking about women's history, but we're celebrating women around the world. This is a global theme. Hashtag Choose to Challenge. And when you think about choosing the challenge, raising the bar, pushing the envelope, blazing your trail, what does that mean to you? And how are you, Barbara, choosing to challenge?
Well, something that I do, what I said is I like to give women the opportunity to promote them. So I told myself, I said, now I want to dedicate each month. I really want to dedicate just pulling in women, like you said, not just in the US, but around the world to say their voice. Because I always like to find what their PPD is, what their purpose, passion, and drive. And I said, this is a good opportunity to let other people know why women do what they do, like what business or even in their personal life, what makes them what makes them different and what makes them them. So what I chose to do moving forward is I really want to bring in the women, get their voices out there so people can really hear the why. Because I always tell people, the story of a person is so important to listen to so you know where they came from, nor what they did. And a lot of times, if you don't know the story, people don't get that insight, and they just look at the face value of things and not the whole picture. So that's one thing that I'm choosing to challenge, is really just to push to get more women, to get them in front and really explain who they are, so people can sit back and say, wow, that is amazing. I see why this woman is in this particular incident, or she's doing this, or she's doing certain things in life.
I love that. And when we encourage each other to, or in your case, challenge women to come to the front and tell their story, there's so much healing and growth and inspiration and encouragement that we can pull from hearing the stories of other people, especially if they're going down a path that we want for ourselves, right?
Yes, it's encouraging. And I always say, when you tell your story, you're giving other people hope, because it's not so much that, you're connected to each other. Because, like, wow, that woman did this or she did that. And she went all through those little, like I said, the hurricanes and earthquakes of life I always talk about. But she still stays just standing. She's still sitting there standing and doing what she needs to do. So then that tells other women, especially our young and our youth, they like,
Mm-hmm.
she did it. She went through this. I know I can do it. So that gives us that, that it's like a leadership type of thing, where you're showing the example of who you can be and that you can do what you need to do.
And you mentioned youth, and I know that you've been on several platforms where it's actually like a teen forum. Can you explain a little bit about that and how you're taking your learned lessons in life and passing on those experiences to the generation coming up behind you?
Yes, I'm really excited about that. You're talking about youth. I was like a kid in the candy store when I was asked to be part of this panel. It was a 6-week teaching for ages 17 and under, where basically it was for public speaking and leadership skills to help them build off of that. And they reached out to me. They said, well, Barbara, you've been speaking on the platform. We would love for you to come in and speak. Now, I was just doing that one day. I was doing an hour speak, like a little lessons to them. When I went into the virtual, Zoom room with them, and I was listening to these young queens, I'm talking about young queens, powerful. Because usually young, I think they're still kind of like, I don't know what to say, and that nervous. These girls were like taking me over. I was like, wait a minute, you bringing me in to teach them? They're teaching me. And they were, Luana. I was just amazed. And two of the girls said, I know I want to be president of the United States when I get older. 9 years old, 10 years old. And they're already just rocking it with their communication and knowing what leadership really means, not just to be over somebody or reign over somebody. They said, no, 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 no. No, they said, we don't want to be examples so people can understand that, that you have to help others. And I was like, okay, I'm done. So yes, that was just so nice to see the young ladies understand how to, basically they know they're knowing who they are. They're in their gifts and their gene, and they know it, and they know that they have to speak on it.
Yeah, I love that when you're looking at, again, the younger generation. I would like to call them the new guard, whether it's the millennials, the Gen Zs. I mean, they are in a very different space. A very I find them to be more self-aware than we
Mhm.
were at that age. They're very connected with their truth and who they are and what they want to see and it's like they already have their boundaries set. This is acceptable, this is not acceptable.
Yeah.
And I find that they're not afraid to exercise that voice and to talk about that voice. And this takes us to this next part of the question for you is, we are now here in the US in our 101st year celebrating the women's right to vote. And the National Association of Women wanted to continue the celebration due to the pandemic. So we actually were celebrating our centennial in 2020. So now in 2021, we are going into still celebrating that tremendous feat in 1920. But as you and I've spoken before, history only paints what they want us to see. And part of that painting is missing, which are all of the women that were rallying around this suffrage movement, that it wasn't just your white women, but it had your African American, your Asian American, your Hispanic Americans, your Native Americans that were girding up this effort. Yet these women, other women, women of color, did not experience the same freedoms and liberties until years, decades later. So when we think about voting and it being an extension of our voice, Barbara, what does that mean to you? And what messages are you putting out there as you're continuously telling people about this PPD?
Yeah. Well, I always tell people when I talk to people and they talk to me about like what's going on in the world, especially women, and it's like, oh my God, this law it's not going into effect, or this person that's the judge or whatever, they're not fair or whatever. And every time I hear that, I say, are you having your voice heard as a woman? Are you having your voice heard? And they're like, well, yeah, I'm telling you about it. I'm like, no, 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 no. Telling me about it it's not doing anything because it's like a complaining to me. It's like this, ever ending back and forth. You need to make sure that you're voting for the people. You need to make sure you're doing the research of who's going in office. See, a lot of people, they just hit that one button, either Democrat, Republic, and then they say, okay, I'm done. I did it. I voted. Okay, there's one thing to say you can vote. There's another thing. Are you really taking that charge of understanding the people that are running and what their beliefs are and what their values are? So when they do get into office, that they're doing the things that they need to do to give everybody justice and not just one particular group. So I always tell women that, by exercising your vote, it's not just hitting a button to say, okay, check mark, I voted. You have to do more. You have to push more to that and understand who you're voting for and who you're putting in office. Because you can still put the wrong person in office, even if you do that one check mark, you don't know who they are. You don't know what they're doing. They might be sitting there talking about, we want guns all over and everything. And you're like, oh, well, they seem like a nice person because they had a nice picture. No, that's not doing it. So we need to really respect the women that fought for us because they did their research. They made sure that who they were voting for, and they made sure why they wanted to vote. And they understood how important it was way back then that it had to be put into place so us as women today can be able to do that. So if we're going to push for the envelope, we need to make sure that we're doing our due diligence and making sure that we're voting for that person, and hopefully the right person is getting into office. So then when we have those talks, we can say, wow, this person got in office and they're doing all these things for all the minorities. See, that's the kind of talks I like to hear because you put yourself there and did that research.
I like what you just said because there was a challenge, a subtle challenge within what you just mentioned, and that's to encourage women, whether when you have the opportunity to exercise your voice, understand the why. When you have the opportunity to cast your ballot and vote, for those that are in democratic societies, to know the why and not just arbitrarily say, okay, let me just click all because they're all Democrat, or click all because they're all Republican, or whatever your voting structure may be, but to be educated and responsible in that voice is what I hear you saying. That's the challenge that you're putting out to women.
Yes, definitely. Definitely. Because I always tell people I don't be talking to talk to other people about doing things. I always turn right back around and talk to myself. And I noticed that, way back in the past, years and years ago, I was doing the same thing. I was just like, okay, I voted and did a little check mark. People get in there, I didn't even know the first name of the mayor. But I voted Democrat. So it's like, that's a no-no. And I said, I need to step up as a woman, to say, I said, I can't sit around talking about, oh, I got the right to vote. And then I don't even know who the parties may be or the players that are in the house. So very important to do that.
Yeah, I love that. Well, this is now like my favorite part of the interview, and it's where I get to just sit back and just receive from you as you share with the listening audience the woman who most impacted and influenced you, that personal relationship that you have. And I'd like to turn it over to you to do that, and also leave our listening audience with a lasting gold nugget for them, or diamond, if you will.
Okay, thank you. So the person, it's funny because I always think in my head for the woman in my life that really was there for me, that I really respect, love, and honor. And I couldn't say this a few years ago, but it is my mother, Mrs. Sally Mae Beckley. I'm saying the full name because people would never say her middle name, and she gets so upset about that. And I know why now. And that's why I said I know why now. And that's the reason why I honor her and I talk about her, because she was what I called in my mind Miss Sergeant. She was the type of lady that basically, no matter what you did, no matter how you did it, if you were reaching for that star, she wanted you to get the moon, the sun, the astronauts, and everybody else with it. She was the type of person, when I always tell people the story about my grades and stuff, I said, well, I got an A. I said, Ma, I got an A. I got 5 A's in all classes. And she looked at me with that little face and said, where's the A plus? Why are you happy? Back in my mind, I'm like, oh yeah, I reached the A. But in her mind, she said that you need to do the extra. She even called the school and asked if they give me extra credit, saying that she doesn't understand what they're doing. They need to make sure she gives her daughter the extra credit because she needs to do more. So saying now that have so many other stories about Miss Sargent, but the biggest thing is that I am so glad that she did that. Now, when I was younger, we had this back and forth relationship where I was like, am I adopted? I told this to Luana long ago. I said, I need to figure this out. This woman seemed like she really don't love me the way I feel like she do, because she just on me about everything. I mean, it went from clothes to school to just how I looked, how I presented myself, how I talked. And I'm like, what? And I was so busy trying to be just like, try to please her, that, I kind of lost myself a little bit because I was so busy trying to please her when I was younger. But then when she got older and she got her illness set in, because she was going through dialysis and everything, that's when the table started turning in our relationship, because we had to wind up sticking with each other. She had to wind up staying with me. I moved her out where I'm at now in Wisconsin. And I got to take her out because she loved to wine and dine. She loved to go out to restaurants. And every time we would sit back and I would listen to her stories. And this is just really important tip, her story of her life and why she was the way she was, why she was so much like a sergeant, because she came from, in Mississippi, where basically she had sisters and brothers, lost her brother at a young age, died at a young age, and her sisters got pregnant at a really young age. There was a lot of things going on. They sent her away, and then she went through a lot of tough times in her life. I mean, very tough, where she got abused. It was just a lot of things. So one thing she told me, she said, I never, ever, never want you to have to sit there and try to figure out how to make it because you don't understand or you don't have the education. Or, she said, you're already fighting the fact that you're a woman. She said, and you're Black. She used to always tell me that. She said, you need to make sure that you have to be 10 times better than that next person. 10 times, she said. And she said, probably multiply that too. So now I understood when she told me that story of her and what she was dealing with and how she was, treat me. My whole, my perspective of it was like, she did love me. She loved me so much that she had to give me that tough love. And I have a chapter coming up called Tough Love Made Me a Conqueror. And that's what I use her. She's the story of that, because she took that time, no matter what, no matter how much I was like, I don't know, I did bad, no, I did okay. And she's like, no, you got to do this, you got to do this. And now that she's not here with me anymore, it's been 30 years shy, I understand. And everything I do, I try to, make it to that perfection of it. Not saying that we're all perfect, because we're not perfect, but at least I try now. Before, I used to say, well, I don't know if I could do that. I better not even try. Now it's like, why not? I mean, all I could do is fail. And then to me, is failing is not doing it at all than to do it and just maybe fail at it. Because basically, when you think about it, you're not failing if you're trying because you tried it and you see if it worked or not. You took that chance. You took that push, So I give homage to my mother. And I'm proud to say that now, that I do love her very dearly, and thanking her for making me the woman that I am today.
Mm, that's so beautiful. It's amazing how God puts, whether it's our mothers or other women of influence in our lives, and sometimes you said it's that tough love, and we're wondering, well, why am I being loved this way, or why am I being shaped this way? But then when we reach where we're supposed to be in life, we look back and it's like, I
Yeah.
needed that. I needed that type of strength to gird me up for this journey, right?
Yes. Yeah. And I'm just so glad that before she passed away, we did have those nice talks where I even told her, I said, Ma, I even told her, I said, I thought I was adopted. Because she was just like, running in. I thought you didn't like me. I thought you didn't love me the way, I thought you would, mother and daughter would love each other. And she said, and she looked at me like I was crazy for one, saying, what? You think I'd have wasted all my time and energy and effort and everything else? And, just she went to her little thing. I said, okay, I get it. I get it. You're right. You love me dearly. So, yeah. Yeah. So just
Yeah.
just to recognize that. So I'm so glad that glad that I went through those, because I needed it. I needed that, and I know now. So I tell anybody, if people are giving you that tough love, this is one tip. It wasn't the main tip I was gonna give, but this is a tip.
Sure.
If people are really giving you that tough love, then look at the bigger picture of it. Don't just look at the point of it seemed like I'm not being treated unfair and stuff, because that person is taking that time out maybe to help you mold. They see something in you that you might not even see, and they're helping you mold into that. And then ask the questions to them. There's nothing wrong with asking those questions to make sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Now you said that wasn't the main tip. What's the main lesson you'd like to leave with the listening audience?
The main lesson I want to leave, and I'm always talking about PPD, your purpose, passion, drive. So I tell people, once you find your genius, you find that gift that you have in you, because everyone has one gift, more than one, and you do. Even though you might think, I don't know, you do have them. You need to sit back. I always tell people, get a piece of paper and a pen, go in a nice secluded room that's real quiet, and sit there and write down everything that you love, everything that you can do with just closing your eyes, and you can do it. That's when you find those gifts and those talents that you have. And then once you find that, I want you to stop hitting that snooze button in life and wake up and say, I can make things happen now, because I know who I am. I know what I'm about, and I know what I believe in, and I know my values, and I could push forward at anything. I mean that, anything that you could do. So that snooze button needs to stop. And we all had those snooze buttons, if it's in your head or it's on the phone going off, and you keep hitting and hitting. Well, no, when you find what you need to do, there's no time for that anymore. You need to move forward. And I did get that particular quote, but I put in a more storyline from Eric Thomas, so I have to give him credit for that. But the thing is, what I love about that whole quote is that he's like, you don't have no excuses anymore. See, when you're kind of like, I don't know. Okay, we'll give you that time to think about it. But once you do get it, the snooze button is gone, and you got to keep it moving. We got to move forward. We got to level up in that area. So that's.
Thank you so much, Barbara. So before we sign off, how can our listening audience reach you?
Yes, you can reach me on all social media outlets under Barbara Beckley. The biggest thing I would love for people to go to is the Diamond Factor Experience Facebook group. That's where, like I said, I do a lot of interviews for the ladies. I bring a lot of resources and just a lot of interesting other people that come on. Because one thing I believe is lifting other people up in their, like I said, their business, their shows. So you'll see a lot of other people come on under that platform and doing different topics and what they do. So please come there, and I will personally let you in the door with open arms. And I truly appreciate that. And if you want to email me, it's under the Diamond Factor Experience at gmail.com.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much, Barbara, to our listening audience. Thank you again for joining us for another special edition of Women's History Month. # Choose the Challenge with Miss Barbara Beckley, the Queen Diamond. Thank you again, Barbara. And as we always say, ladies, and to our listening audience, love yourself, embrace yourself, and whatever you do, celebrate you. Until next time.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to Business Innovators Radio. To hear all episodes featuring leading industry influencers and trendsetters, visit us online at businessinnovatorsradio.com today.